So, if you've been feeling a little bit lost, if you've been feeling a little bit sad, a bit depressed, maybe a little bit out of sorts, resentful, angry, then what you could be going through is actually a spiritual awakening. So, I am currently living in Canada and I have come over from England. And what I'm doing currently is I'm trying to find my place in the world. I put in a lot of effort into trying to understand myself, grow, heal, move forward in England. I've done a lot of research, I've done a lot of therapy, a lot of self analysis, and I kind of concluded when I was back home that it just wasn't really where I should be. And I'd kind of explored and done all that I can there. So for me, I'm on this journey now of trying to find where my new home is whilst I'm in this kind of new raw shell, let's say. So what a spiritual awakening it's almost like a death and a rebirth of who you are. So typically what tends to happen is there seems to be like a situation, whether it be a traumatic situation or something that's just quite like emotional, that like triggers this sudden realization that life isn't what we think it should be or what we feel it should be. And what this sudden realization does is it puts a spotlight on all of our imperfections in our sort of, of ourself, of our relationships, of our career, how we carry ourselves, how people sort of communicate with us. And it just kind of puts us in a bit of a, I would say like a strong awareness of like not being aligned. And I don't know why I'm holding this pen, by the way. But yeah, so we're just kind of very aware now and conscious. It's almost like we've been unconscious, and now all of a sudden we're conscious that our life and the things in it aren't as it should be or as it truly seemed. And what it is now, we've got that realization is makes us very uncomfortable. And that's where we can connect to those emotions that I mentioned earlier. So it might be, as I said, you might be feeling quite angry, quite resentful, maybe a bit more annoyed, maybe you feel a bit lost because the things that you thought gave you joy don't. The relationships that you had in your life you actually find aren't actually that good for you. And now we're in this kind of area of, all these emotions. Confusion is quite a big one. I know I definitely felt confused. And just this really strong urge that you deserve better, that things should be different. And it's just about kind of working out now how to navigate that. Now, as a general scale, I would say that a spiritual awakening is just a very lengthy process of undoing who you are or who you thought you were, and then redoing life and yourself back to who you should be. So it's almost like as I said, a death of the old self and a rebirth of the new one. I am literally blind as a bat, so it's a bit like I it's a bit like me not having my contact lenses in or my glasses, and then all of a sudden somebody, I've gone 20, 30 years completely blind and not seeing and just getting on with life, to now all of a sudden I can see things so much more clearly now, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, this doesn't quite feel right. And yeah, I mean, some people could argue that it could be very similar to, just getting older, getting wiser, and knowing that these things are no longer healthy. But I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think it's a little bit more related to your identity as a whole. And I feel like because this sudden realization sort of erupts a lot of belief systems, it affects every area as opposed to just some. Whereas I think personal development and getting older and wiser typically tends to just focus on certain areas. So a spiritual awakening is a lot more deeper rooted. It's a lot more connected to your soul, your identity, and I think it affects every aspect of your life. So for me, my first spiritual awakening actually happened when I was at university, but I actually didn't see it as that at the time. And it was only at the start, so I was nowhere even near in the awareness of it being anything other than a mental breakdown. So I was someone who never believed that they were going to university. No one in my immediate circle or family had gone to university, so it wasn't anything that was ever in my mentality to go. So when my college tutor, I think it was Helen, come in one morning at college going, "Come on then, chickens, come on, let's get applying for UCAS, get applying for uni. Let's look at courses that you want to do and where you want to go." I'm thinking, what? Me? University? I never seen me going to university. But lo and behold, I applied and I got in for a couple of unis, which was really nice. And it was really nice that somebody actually had that belief in me. Because as I said, it's not anything that I really grew up on. You just kind of, I don't know, we're all very like in my friendship group when I was younger. It was all very drugs, drink, party, council estate vibes. It's all very just community, and nobody really progressing. If I'm completely honest with you, it's ambition in education is just not a thing, and that's not necessarily saying that it's any lesser or better than, but that just wasn't in our. It wasn't something that we strived for, I should say. But yeah, really, I guess that was the first moment where I thought, okay, maybe I can be a little bit more than what I'm doing at the minute. So I've gone to university. Of course, I felt like an absolute fish out of water. I had the biggest mental breakdown, like extreme major depression. I had generalized anxiety. The weirdest thing to have both, to be so highly strung and uptight and scared and fearful and anxious and having panic attacks, to not being able to get out of bed, not going to lectures, being extremely paranoid, and just very doomy, gloomy, thinking that the whole world is against me, and just feeling so undeserving to be there. And that was the bottom line, is I didn't feel like I deserved to be there. I just was around people that just seemed to have it a bit more together. They seemed to be a bit more financially better. They seemed to be a little more intelligent than I was, prettier. Just generally as a whole, I just felt so inferior to these people, and I feel like I've already come there with those beliefs, but stepping into that environment, I feel like just amplified it all for me, and it's what just caused me to have this huge breakdown, because I just couldn't align with that experience, and I felt like such a fraud. Yeah, and then that was the first indication of my spiritual awakening, which, as I said, is, I would say that was, for me, was the event. And then the realization was then quitting my studies, and then really trying to step into more root chakra things of getting balanced. So I'd gone home, got a new job, focused on my fitness, my health. Your root chakra is your very like basic level human needs, and sort of getting them sort of leveled out. And then that sort of brought me back to my baseline, which again was quite a low baseline and a low bar and a low vibration. But as I said, it was just me going back to what I always knew. And then, fast forward to 5-10 years later, is when I had my second event that triggered the realization of both awakenings. Was a breakup with an ex-partner, but many many, oh my god, that sounds terrible. Not not like that, but no, I would say there were four, let's say four major sort of relationships that had the most impact. Now, I'm someone who has no hate for any of them, and they were my biggest teachers. I like massively so. Like, I'm so grateful for my ex-partners. I have no bad blood towards any of them. We were just all so misaligned, and we just weren't meant to be, and that's fine, isn't it? But as I said, I learned so much about myself from every single one of them. But I would say in particular, there was one where I put so much of my self-worth into this person and so much of my value. I thought so highly of this person. Like, I felt they'd done really well for themselves. Their circle was very like affluent. Like, these were like high end professionals. And I think I'd just finished university at this point. So I just, again, like moving in them circles again, this feeling of inadequacy and not being good enough really started to fall in, and it just turned me into an absolute little monster. I will go into more detail in another episode about relationships and awakening, but just for some context, with regards to the spiritual awakening, is so the breakup, it happened, and then all of a sudden I've plunged into this deep depths of darkness again. And I am, oh my goodness, like, that's just my life, to be fair. It's just been a series of deep plunges of darkness, but what I get out of them is absolutely magnificent. So how do we navigate it? So I feel like that was different for everybody. But of course, I can just give some examples of different things that I tried. So we lean into it, or we don't lean into it. I always find that if we sort of don't lean into it, we tend to have more disruptive behaviors and attitudes, whether we're feeling angry, whether we're feeling resentful, whether we're feeling lost, confused, depressed, anxious. I feel like sometimes it can manifest in physical issues like unexplained illnesses like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. I feel like it can manifest in lots of different ways if we don't lean into it. And that's just your body and your soul's way of trying to push you to lean into it, basically. So let's say we have leaned into it, but mine initially actually started with knowing what my core values were and what my life's mission was. So your life mission is basically you write out your ideal life and what that looks like for you. So that's how your relationships are, romantic or friendships, what your career is, how you carry yourself, what your hobbies are, and lots of different areas. And what you would do is just write out in an ideal world what that looks like for you. And then if you compare that to your current life, then you can see how aligned you are with what it is that you should be doing. And then you would then, obviously set goals and achievements and things around getting closer to that alignment. Now, then I discovered spirituality. First, it started with coming across crystals and then reading books and doing research, and coming across sort of spiritual teachers and coaches on YouTube. And then sort of getting really interested in tarot cards and shadow work. So I would say it was through a mixture of all these things collectively that I was able to realize that a lot of these belief systems that I had of feeling inadequate were a lot stronger and deep rooted through my childhood of feeling inadequate, feeling ugly, feeling fat, like not being the one that was very desirable amongst friendships or romantic relationships or the boys just in general. So yeah, I mean I was a very late comer to the party of getting relationships, I was. So it was all very new to me, but I always kind of someone who's always known their worth. And I feel like how I was treated when I was younger by peers, I feel like really did impact how I viewed myself in relationships as an adult. I just seen myself as someone who was very low value, which I don't think is in common if in social groups, growing up in as a kid and teenagers, if you're sort of lowest in the pack and pecking order because you can't really fight or you're not that pretty and you don't have money. I think that's in a lot of hierarchy groups, but generally, like as I said, for me I was very low ranking, and that sort of then I feel like did create these belief systems that I had. But with the spiritual awakening and through doing all the shadow work and doing my tarot cards and even the combination of therapy, I was really able to get to the root cause of why I felt like that, and that's what I connected back to these experiences. I come across something on YouTube and I thought, shadow work, oh, what's this? So I did it, and it was a more of a meditation one, and it took me back to a primary school incident where I was feeling a little bit brave. I was never a kid who was very confident or felt very attractive, but sometimes you just give in to your impulses, don't you? And what I'd done is I'd written out a Valentine's Day card for a kid at school, and I remember writing out like we being Valentine's, blah blah blah. I really like you. Maybe I asked him to be my boyfriend. I don't know. Tick yes or no. Gave him this card, and I got the card back, and it basically said in it, I do not date dogs, no, or something along those lines. And of course, all I felt then is immediate rejection, immediate self loathing. And it was interesting that the meditation took me back to that moment, because that would explain a lot of my insecurities and my lack of willingness to put myself out there. I feel like that rejection was a deep rooted core and memory that happened in childhood. But that's just one example of shadow work. And then of course then you'd sort of, it ended, sorry, it did end by then you going back to that child, and what would you say to that child and how would you love that child. And that in turn is that I believe is supposed to be the section where you release it, and I did, and it was just so weird to take me back to that memory that I'd never even thought of. But it just goes to show how far back these things stay in our body. I think this is what kind of puts me a little bit at an advantage is I'm ADHD. Whilst it has been so extremely challenging, it has definitely given me the edge where I am somebody who is not scared to start over, and I am always trying new things. And I think that is the secret. I am someone who's very open, so I'll talk to anybody. So I feel like when you allow new experiences and new people into your life, that opens up a different world for you. So you don't just know what's in your immediate circle and your immediate sort of awareness. You're expanding that beyond that. So, connecting to different people from different cultures, or, I've had lots of different jobs. Again, I never found it, and I wasn't scared to start again. If it didn't resonate, why am I wasting time on minimum wage slugging it out when I'm not happy? Makes no sense to me. But anyway, yeah, you've got to be keen to explore, and you've got to be keen to try new things, because again, it's about building new perspectives and having new exposures, because these new exposures challenge your current way of thinking. They challenge everything. And sort of, as I said, once you've come into this realization of being misaligned, I'm now not happy with how this friend speaks to me. I'm now not happy that I'm the one that makes all the effort because I'm the one without kids. We're now awoken to everything that's going on around us, and we feel misaligned. It's not always as blatant. It's not until there's a situation in a relationship, whether it be a friendship or a romantic or a work issue, that we actually come to realize that it triggers us and it irritates us, and they are, your triggers and things that make you emotionally respond. So your emotions are a very good navigation tool with knowing what's you're not happy with, because you're not happy, are you? That's why you feel angry, bitter, sad, anxious. There is a disturbance there, and that's what it is. So if you have a disturbance there, and it's about exploring that and packing that, whether you do it through therapy, whether you do it through shadow work, maybe it's just uploading onto a really trustworthy friend, someone you can trust, and you can just explain certain situations, and you can kind of unpack it together. You can unpack things through journaling, you can unpack things through having a therapist, you can unpack things through shadow work, you can unpack things through going to see a spiritual practitioner. Maybe that's through having a psychic reading, maybe that's through having a tarot cards or oracle cards. For me, I then fell into doing tarot cards and reading for myself and thinking, oh my God, like I didn't actually see it that way. So it's really good to have these mirrors on the other side of these issues, because what they do is they then, as I said, offer you a new perspective and a new way of looking at things, because we only know what we know. There's nothing truer than that, but only through exploring new avenues and meeting new people and doing different things do we then start to challenge our current belief system. So one of the things that we could do is making sure that we've got like healthy ways to release the energy or release the belief system. So how we attitudes, behaviors, and situations are all what we say in spirituality are energies, and these energies can linger, and they can either linger inside us or linger in our spaces, our environment. So it's really important to release and cleanse ourselves and our spaces. So you might do this by doing things like smudging. Smudging is like where you have white sage, and what you do is you blow the smoke around your house. They used to do this in churches. This is why they swing that. It's frankincense, and they swing it. It's almost like a cleansing sort of ritual. So it's been around for a long, long time. A lot of shamans do it. You'll see them with smoking that smoke pipe, and that's cleansing as well. So it is a real powerful tool with removing energy in your space. But of course, it's really important that you attach intention to that. That was a bit of a late one for me, is knowing to attach intention. So you could also have like cleansing baths, and that's putting like bath salts and things, and that can in turn draw out energy out of your body and just cleanse you. It can be through the foods you consume. There are lots of different ways that you can cleanse energy. I definitely would love to do a video about that. So why do we even have a spiritual awakening? We have a spiritual awakening so that we can be who it is that we're supposed to be, so that we can be authentic and have true happiness. You can only really truly be happy if it's really aligned with who you are as a person, and your goals and how you operate is truly what you want to do. It's so easy to be misguided by peers, by friends, by family, and we end up then walking that path that these people have kind of paved out for us, as opposed to what it is that we want. So when we spiritually awaken, we then are aware and actively then trying to create a life that's for us. And of course, then we're just going to have a better quality of life. We're going to be happier. We're going to carry ourselves different. We're going to be confident. Physical illnesses might subside slightly or completely eliminate. We just generally are just a nicer energy to be around, and we just carry ourselves differently. And again, it will then connect us back to our life's mission, because this isn't just about us; it's about us as a collective. So once we are truly aligned with who it is that we are supposed to be, we then can pass that knowledge on to other people and have them be authentic and have them be happy. Then we can maybe connect a little bit clearer to what our life path is and what it is that we should be doing for the world. And again, we all have a gift and something that we are supposed to give to the world. So not only do we feel like so much better and happier, we're then able to feel purposeful and be able to lean into what it is, or explore whatever it is our gift is to the world, which is to help and usually heal in some way. And just, I think that's just beautiful, personally. So let's conclude. A spiritual awakening is a death and a rebirth. It's a death of the old self and the old way that we used to be, the old way we used to think, the people we maybe had there. And then it's a rebirth then of a new way of how we want to be, some new ways of thinking, some new people that are in our life, but it's in a much more healthier and more holistic and more beautiful way. We are always growing and evolving, and what we want to do is we just want to ascend, and we want to be more purposeful with life and just feel good about life. And that is what's so beautiful about a spiritual awakening, is it might have these really hard, dark moments, and we might lose people we thought we loved, but what we gain is so much better. So this is the first episode of the Spiritual Awakening series. Please do stay tuned for any future episodes. They will be to do with love and spiritual awakenings, friendships and spiritual awakenings, career and spiritual awakenings, and spiritual awakenings. So do feel free to check out other videos that I do have on this channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It does mean a lot, and it does help me grow, and it helps me produce more videos. Thank you for listening today, and God bless.